There I am. Okay.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get going. All right. I'm a little,
Discombobulated? It's all right. I see a lot of smiling masks out here. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful day. Brandon looks beautiful today, doesn't he, everybody? Woo! 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 Somebody once told me if you sing it, they will come. And look at me, everybody's walking on over. Come on, everybody's welcome. Thanks for being here. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Hello, everybody. Happy weekend. I think we're almost there. My name is Mia, and this is my friend Brandon. And along with a whole busload of other common do-gooders, we are both common good. And we're so happy to be here with you all in Cincinnati. And, well, I know you can't see my face, but I'm smiling, and I hope you are too. And one thing we love to do as we go around telling everybody this good news of a change that's going to come on Election Day if we all do our part. We like to sing songs, and this is one of the songs we like to sing. And I know it sounds like a lot of words, but I'd love if you help us out. Now, me and Brandon are going to take care of most of those words, but if you could just sing out loud. Everybody's got. Every time that part comes around. Do you think you can do that? Sounds good. All right, they're going to do it, Brandon. Everybody's got a sidewalk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got, yeah, somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Again. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Oh, everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Yeah. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Everybody, everywhere we're going down. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, hello, Cincinnati. You that have chosen to join us tonight, and all of you online. Well, dearly beloved, we have gathered together today because we've all been hearing some things, that don't sit so well with our souls. We've been hearing people tell us that people of the Christian faith are going to follow up and back that Republican candidate for president, and we are here to tell you that that just ain't so. And look, we've been hearing all sorts of things that don't sit so well with us. You've been hearing that we should put America first, no matter what we do. And we are here to remind you of the great call to seek first the kingdom of God. You have heard it said that we need to stack the courts and take care of our 501ks. But we are here to remind you that you should seek first the kingdom of God. And what does it profit a person to gain the whole world and lose their very soul? You have heard it said that the powerful can do everything they want, including stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and not lose any support. But we're here to remind you that if you try to live by that sword, you're going to die by that sword. And you have heard it said that we need to build a wall so that we can keep them out. And we are here to remind you that you should welcome the little children. And you have heard it said that we should separate the children from their parents. But we are here to remind you that that which God has brought together, no one should ever separate. And you have heard it said that it is what it is. But we are here to remind you that you should care for the least of these. And you have heard it said that you should keep quiet and keep your political and religious views to yourself. But we are here to remind you to let that little light shine and to join together and to do something about it all on Election Day. Now, we've been traveling all over this country. We started back in January outside of Washington, D.C., right at the White House, and we drove to 36 states, and then COVID put us on break for a while, and we've been back out. And we were over in Charlottesville, Virginia, and this little crew and hundreds of others walked ourselves all the way up to Washington, D.C. to call for a racial reckoning, a social reckoning, and a political reckoning on Election Day. So after a 130-mile walk, we got back in that bus and started driving around, and we have been waiting to get here to Cincinnati. And I'll tell you, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. And if you know that joke from WKRP in Cincinnati, I appreciate it. I heard I would get a gentle applause from some people with a little bit of humor in it. Now, look, we're not here to convince anyone that they shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. That man is like a self-cleaning oven. He does all the work for you. All you got to do is watch him every day, and you'll realize that he is unfit for office and does not deserve anyone's support when it comes to his election. His crassness, his corruption, and his cruelty show that he is a hazard to the well-being of this planet and to all the people who live on it. And every day we see new levels of nonsense coming from him and discord coming out of this White House, and he is simply not up to the job. And the problem is that it is dangerous. It's dangerous because COVID deaths. It is dangerous because of kids in cages. It is dangerous because soldiers get targeted. It's dangerous because of the corruption of his advisors and his leaders, and his consorting with and bringing foreign governments into our elections is something that the good people of this country are not going to stand for any longer. Now, look, I want to be clear. I'm a Christian pastor, and we travel around the country, and we're not just here picking on old Donald Trump. We're not trying to just say that we hate the man. In fact, just like every one of us, Donald Trump is a beloved child of God, salt of the earth and light of the world. But not every light of the world should be the president of the United States, and this man should take his dim little light and let it shine somewhere else because he is unfit for the job and unable to do it. And look, I'm a Democrat, but we're not here to turn people into Democrats. And if Republicans are watching or listening, we want to make sure that you know we're not asking you not to be a Republican. We're just asking you to not vote as a Republican for this guy. We don't think that's too much to ask. Now, as we've been traveling around this country, a lot of people tell us no. People say I'm too busy. People say at churches, well, we don't like to talk about politics. People in politics say we get a little bit nervous about faith, hope, and love for a change on Election Day. Sounds like it's awfully religious. So we get a lot of no's. We got kicked out of a Goodwill parking lot once, by the way. I mean, there's a lot of people who want to tell us no. But then there's people who tell us yes. And you know who told us yes? You people did. You're all a bunch of yes men and women, and we love having you here with us tonight, a bunch of yes people. I'll tell you somebody else who told us yes, and that is the pastor of this very church. That's Pastor Leslie, who told us yes. So would you come up here and tell the good people why it was that you decided to say yes to this, Leslie? And thank you so much for having us tonight.
That's fine. Why I said yes? Because a change is going to come. That's why I said yes, because I'm reminded in Scripture about change. Change happens when people get involved, when people are active. Change happens when people repent. I'm not ashamed of the gospel, and I'm not ashamed to be proud that I live in a country where our freedom has been fought for, where freedom has been won, but we yet have a ways to go, and we are the people that can make that change happen. And people of faith. You know, someone once asked me, they said, well, if you're a person of faith, why do you vote? I vote because Jesus said to the disciples, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and unto the Lord's what is the Lord's. So I don't worship a demagogue. I don't worship a president. I don't worship a Congress. I worship God, but I vote for elected officials as a person of faith. And that's why I said yes, because we need to bring this message to a community of believers that want to see change. We need to bring this message to a community of people and to a nation. It's interesting that on the back of our money it says, "In God we trust," but so many people are trusting in humans. So many people are trusting by putting their vote not toward what God really honors. God honors faith, hope, and love, peace. And when we have leaders that don't bring peace and they bring chaos, my heart has been broken. Can I just get real serious with you just for a moment? I don't have to tell anybody, I'm a black woman. I've been black all my life. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. It won't rub off and it won't wear off. I've lived as a little girl in the South, as a teenager in the North. I've traveled extensively as an adult. And one thing that I have noticed in all that I've seen is that people want to sing "We Shall Overcome" when something happens in our streets. People gather together and want to protest, and people want to gather together and they want to shout loud the change. We need change. Over the last 8 weeks, we've been marching. I think they're up to, it was 90-something days or something like that in Seattle that they've been having protests in the streets. And my real truth is I'm tired of protesting. I'm tired of marching and singing "We Shall Overcome." I'm tired of singing these songs and walking hand in hand. And I know that the change will only come when I do my part, when you do your part, when we make a louder voice, when we bring the right kind of people to sit in positions that can make policy and legislation happen that's going to benefit people that look like me. And so none of us are free really until we're all free. And as people of faith, we talk a lot about freedom. Where there is the Spirit of the Lord there's liberty. Well, I want to see the Spirit of the Lord all over this nation. And I think that Spirit is embodied by people who are strong enough to stand up and stand up against the system. We're not standing up against a person. We're standing up against a system. Right. A system that allows things that are unfathomable to be happening right now in our nation. I had to take a break, and I couldn't go to any more protests. I couldn't do any more Zoom calls and talk about. And I told some of my white brothers and sisters, I don't want to tell you how I feel, because I've been telling you how I feel for a long time. I want to show you how I feel. And how I feel is that change is imminent. And change starts when people of faith vote the principles of God and not the doctrine and dogma of their denomination, of their association, or whatever their ideology is, but they vote the principles of God. Faith, hope, and love. God bless you.
Yeah.
Yes. Pastor Leslie, can we vote for you somewhere?
Yeah.
Are you running in 2020?
2021.
2021.
That's right.
Oh man, we're gonna put that on the bus and pray on it. Yes. Hey everybody, my name is Mia. This is Mario. And I'm like Pastor Leslie. Sometimes I'm a little bit tired. But we gotta remember, we gotta stick together, and we gotta rise up and hold each other up if we need it. You're broken down and tired from living life on a merry-go-round. You can't find the fighter, no, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it on now. Ooh, mountain, yes we can. Mountain, oh yeah. And we'll rise up, rise like the day, we'll rise up. silence is quiet. No, you find it so very hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise you will take this world on its feet. And mountains, oh yes, we will together. Big old mountains, yeah, and we'll rise up, rise like the day, we'll rise up, rise unafraid, we'll rise up and do it 1,000 times again. Oh yes, we will. And we'll rise up, high like the waves, we'll rise up. In spite of the age, we'll rise up and do it 1,000 times again. Yeah. Oh, wake up, speak up, stand up together. We've got to rise up and do it 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, rise like the day, rise in spite of the hate. Rise up and do it 1,000 times again. Want to do it? Yes. Thank you. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to my friend Genesis B. All right. One more round of applause for Mia and Mario, y'all. Let's give it up. Oh man, it feels good to be here, y'all. Thank you so much for having us. As you know, my dad always taught me, whether you're performing to 50,000 people, 50 people, 5 people, you bring the same energy. So I hope that y'all feel that we're bringing that energy for y'all tonight. My name is Genesis B. I'm a hip hop artist, painter, and an activist from Biloxi, Mississippi. And a part of my activism work the last 5 years has been to remove the Confederate emblem from the Mississippi state flag, along with my collaborators, Mississippi Rising Coalition and the Poor People's Campaign, Mississippi branch. And I'm very proud to say that June 30th, 2020, Mississippi took down that flag. After 120 years, generation after generation fighting against that symbol of Confederate ideology. So I come here to tell you that I bear witness that change is happening. Sometimes it feels like it's not happening fast enough. This assault that we're feeling is a slow assault. A slow assault, centuries old. So it's not going to be a quick fix, but I'm here to tell you that change is happening. I'm witnessing it firsthand in Mississippi. So I'm going to say a poem for y'all today. I might do one later if I have time, but this particular poem right here, I want to start by asking a question to you all. And it's not a rhetorical question. So I would love to hear what you think. And there's no wrong answer. So here's a question, y'all. If Trump disappeared today, what would America do? Rejoice. Rejoice. Anybody else? What would America do if Trump, you look at your phone right now. Shout. What's that? Shout. Shout. What would you do if Trump disappeared right now? What's that? I can't hear. Praise God. Hallelujah. What would America do, y'all? If Trump disappeared today, what would America do? Would there still be all this Twitter commotion? Would America still worship money? Would we still pollute the oceans? Would we still imprison black men and shoot them down with no emotion? Would women still be the smartest in the room and still get passed up for promotions? What would America do if Trump no longer exists? Would we still destroy our planet for profit? Would we still have private prisons, the new slave trade in auction?
Would men still write laws dictating what women do with our bodies, stripping away anatomical autonomy? Would we still shame women who use sex as commodity, but not shame men who buy sex and pornography? Would we still turn a blind eye to all this hypocrisy? What would America do if it was up to you? Would you finally purge law enforcement of white supremacist bigots? Would we finally have equal rights for poor whites and immigrants? Would preachers still use their pulpit to pimp our communities? Will boys still be boys, raping and assaulting with impunity? Would we still ignore the killing of trans folks? Because this is where America stands, folks. To know what would America do, I ask, what has America done? Well, for one, we massacred our native population. From the blood of black slaves, we built the richest of nations. And we waged war before. Yeah, we cried wolf with terrorist threats. Remember weapons of mass destruction? Y'all remember that? It's crazy how quickly we forget. I've seen America burn crosses on the lawn of my father. I've seen America separate mothers and toddlers. I've seen America vote for men whose only moral is money. Men who appeal to the racism and sexism of my beautiful Christian country. So we search for a savior to save us from the big orange goblin. Some magical Democrat that can solve all our nation's problems. But Trump is just a symptom of a money-hungry system that never had regard for the troops, no regard for the truth, no regard for the planet, and no regard for the youth. Trump was born into this just like you and I. Trump is as American as apple pie. I'm sorry to say it. So I won't ask what would America do. We know what America has done. Instead, I ask, what can America be if we step up in the days to come? Can we be one nation under God, indivisible? Can freedom and compassion be our core principles? Because these words that I write are not out of spite. I once dreamt of a day that you and I would unite and fight the plights affecting all of our lives, like healing our children and fighting addiction to alcohol and prescription, resisting government monopolies and wicked foreign policies made to benefit the rich while killing us with poverty. I dream of a place where all synagogues are safe, where Muslim brothers and sisters are looked upon with grace, where young girls can walk the streets without being harassed because young boys are taught to understand the traumatizing effect that that has. So what can America be? A place where someone who looks like me and loves like me can actually feel safe and free? Where black and brown women are not minimized and the image of us outside reflects the power of our insides, our potential, our resilience, our imagination, and our brilliance. See, my ancestors fought for me to have a voice. They fought for me to have a vote. So I cast my ballot and I talk my shit. I honor them by doing both. Because they knew what America could be, but it starts with you and it starts with me, because although he spews lies and his actions show cowardice, assigning that much power to any man will eventually render you. That's right. So don't ask what would America do. Ask what can America be? And the answer to that question, my friends, is solely up to you and me. I'm Genesis B, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Genesis. One more time for Genesis, y'all. Come on, Genesis B. Remember that name. Remember that name. Very powerful. My name is Mia. Again, this is Mario. And, one of the things about, first of all, I appreciate everybody for wearing your masks and social distancing. And, one thing about this whole mask wearing thing is we can't see each other's smiles. I really miss that. So one thing that I like to do just to show you that I'm smiling at you is I just tap right here on my heart, like that. And if you walk past somebody today and you don't feel comfortable, maybe walking up to them and speaking, you can give them a little smile, like that. Cool. This is a song that I wrote called I Hope. And Well, I hope it encourages you the way it did for me. How could we ever come to this, you say? Our lives do not matter, and justice has no face. To study war and anger burns the fabric of our state, sends a message to our neighbors that we've fallen from the fray. It's a long road to walk home, and I don't know where it is, but I hope. And when I'm too tired to carry on, I don't know if you'll be there, but I hope. Dream on, dreamers, when the promises fade, it can only leave room for the great. When you long for a hero, no need to look around. You will be one and the same. I said, fight on, brother, oh, to kneel or to stand. It's the power that's placed in your hands, yeah. And march on, sisters, you're never alone. Lift us up and carry us home. 'Cause it's a long road to walk home, and I don't know if it ends, but I know. And when I'm too tired to carry on, I don't know if you'll be there, but I hope and do my to turn around, and we'll back down. I hope and you might say, we'll never see the end. Well, I don't know, my friend. I hope. I hope for you, for me. I hope. Thank you.
Mario!
How great is Mia and Mario? Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Ryerson. I'm a pastor from Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's a real pleasure to be with you tonight. I don't know about you, but I woke up the day after Election Day in 2016 utterly horrified at what our country had done. And I got to be honest with you, I was really, especially utterly horrified because the tribes that I belong to were pretty much responsible for it all. You see, I pastor a predominantly white evangelical church, and it was white evangelicals that elected Donald Trump president. Even though evangelicals and Christians are supposed to be about love and grace and humility and compassion, faith, hope, and love, we elected a man who is so cruel, so corrupt, and frankly, really incompetent, too, to do the job. But it wasn't just the fact that I'm a Christian, and that was one of my tribes that was responsible for this. I'm also a Republican. And my party was responsible for foisting Donald Trump upon all of us. And I had this sense that I needed to do something. my kind of outrage turned to motivation. I had really no idea what that meant and what that would look like until there was one day that I came home from the office and my wife had listened to a podcast about this organization that was recruiting people to run for office, to run for Congress. And I walked through the door and she held her phone out at me and she said, "You've got to listen to this. You've got to do this." I don't know if you've ever had that day where you get up and have a normal day and then you go to bed that night thinking, I might run for Congress. I mean, Kate's had that day. Kate and I have had that day. I'm not sure anybody else here has had that day, but it's a bizarre feeling, right? To think I'm going to do this thing. And that began a really long shot campaign, a grassroots campaign where I challenged one of the most powerful Republicans in Washington, D.C., one of Donald Trump's biggest supporters. Spoiler alert, I didn't win. But I challenged him as a progressive Republican. Do you know what it means to be a progressive Republican? It means nobody likes you. That's what it means. It means nobody likes you, which isn't good when you're running for office. But along the way, I learned a lot about all sorts of things. But I also feel like throughout that process, I found my voice. What we ask people to do here at Vote Common Good is we ask them to wake up, to realize what is happening in our country and the reality and how deep it goes, that the problem is Donald Trump, but the problem is much bigger than Donald Trump. And we've got to wake up to that reality. And then we need to speak up. We need to use our voices together to say things need to change in our country, and we are going to be the people that bring that change about. And I felt like I found my voice to be able to speak up through my campaign. And I want to ask you tonight to find your voice and to speak up throughout the next 60 days until Election Day. You see, you probably have people in your life who need to hear that somebody else doesn't support Donald Trump, that somebody else is willing to say, I'm gonna make sure that Donald Trump does not get reelected. Because what happens is that so often in our lives, what we need is that person who will go first, right? We're kind of have this feeling that maybe we want to do this, we want to participate, but we need somebody to go first. It's like, remember that last scene in Dead Poets Society when the kid gets up on the desk and he says, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and all the other students get up on the desk with him? That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to speak up and to say, I'm going to participate in this election and make sure that Donald Trump doesn't get reelected. And when you make that space, what you're going to do is make it easier for other people to join you. And I want to encourage you with this. There's probably some people in your life, like me, that are Republicans. And I know it will probably be tempting that when they say, you know what, you might be right about this. Maybe I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. It's really easy to have the attitude of to cross your arms and to say, I told you so. Where were you 4 years ago? And I want to encourage you not to do that. Because the last thing we need right now is division when it comes to stopping Donald Trump. That no matter when somebody wakes up, we want to welcome them and to have them join us in stopping the re-election of this president. So we ask people to wake up. We ask people to speak up. We ask people to stand up. I've got the real pleasure of introducing to you someone who is stood up right here in this congressional district and has offered herself to represent you in Washington, D.C. I'm super excited to introduce to you the next Congresswoman from Ohio, Kate Schroeder. Kate.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Genesis and Mia and Mario and Pastor Leslie. Oh my goodness. The talent, the voices, the inspiration here, it fires me up. I'm Kate Schroeder. I am the Democratic nominee for Congress here in the 1st District of Ohio, and I am running because we need change. We have so many real and pressing problems. We have a pandemic that's flattening us. We have an economy that is ground to a halt, and we have racial injustices that have perpetuated for hundreds of years, and we're not going to solve those with the status quo. For too long, we have been electing people that focus on dividing us, pulling us apart. And I fundamentally believe that we have more in common than we have different, that we all share these values of faith and hope and love, and that we need to elect people that bring us together to get things done. I am a low-ego mom. I know how to de-escalate. I have a 5- and 7-year-old. I do it every day. I do it 10 times a day in the pandemic, and I want to bring that attitude to Congress. I grew up here in Cincinnati over in Pleasant Ridge. I live in Clifton now. I went to 12 years of Catholic schools, Nativity and Ursuline, and those values are a huge part of who I am. And just to share one quick story from when I was growing up, 10 years old at Nativity School, 5th grade, for years and years, every week we had Mass on Thursdays and Sundays. And at every Mass, the boys would be the altar boys who put on the white robes and would go up front and help the priest during the service. And one time in May, when I was 10 years old, the priest came to our class and said we had a cancellation for Pentecost Mass on Sunday. Can any of the boys please come on Sunday and help out and be an altar boy? And 10-year-old boys, nobody raised their hand. So the priest asked again, can anybody come and help out on Sunday? So I did. I raised my hand. And the priest didn't know what to do. They'd never had a girl do this job before. It was really awkward. He looked at the teacher looked at the priest. Nobody said anything. Eventually he said to me, well, do you know what to do? I said, I think so. I've watched it a lot. And he said, okay, come on Sunday. So I went on Sunday and I served the Mass. I put on the white robe. It was no big deal. And from that point forward, there were always altar girls in Nativity as well as altar boys. That's right. And I share that story not because I was trying to do anything dramatic or trying to bring attention to myself. I was a helper and a doer, and that is the same person that I am today. And we need that in Congress. We need that in all levels of our government, locally and nationally and at the state level. My career has been in public health. I've spent 15 years working in healthcare. I have an MBA from University of Pennsylvania, and I've lived in Africa for 2 years, in Zambia, and I've seen our country from the eyes of another country. I've been in tons of conversations about what does it mean to live in a democracy. I lived there in 2007 through 2009 when Obama was elected. I stood around and listened to the news on a radio in the morning there with tears streaming down with a group of my neighbors and friends there. And I look at where we are now, and I know we can do better. I know we deserve better and we can do better. And I am, at my core, a problem solver. In my career through global health, I've helped to reduce drug prices. I've helped to expand treatment access. The past 7 years, we've been living here in Cincinnati. I've been serving on the Board of Health and helping to expand dental services in our public health clinics. And that problem solving, that's what motivates me. It's what gets me out of bed. It drives my husband crazy sometimes. He wants to vent about problems, and I'm like, let's fix it. Which is not always, but that's what we need. 10 years ago, though, I encountered a problem I couldn't solve. I noticed some lumps on my right clavicle right here. And I thought, oh, swollen lymph nodes, no big deal. But the fluid that I had, it went away, and these bumps stayed. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll get it checked out. I talked to my dad, because he was a physician, not because he was an oncologist. I said, Dad, what do you think of these bumps? And I went like this, and he said, Kate, he felt both clavicles, he felt the back of my head. He said, this is the classic presentation of lymphoma. And I didn't believe him. I was like, Dad, this is what you see, it's gonna be fine. I was 33, it's on top of the world. But he was right. Scans and a biopsy confirmed it was Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that I would have to go through 4 months of chemo to have any chance of beating it. And everything changed for me in that moment. Many people have days like that. where you are going along with your life and something happens and everything is different from that moment forward. For me, the things that I thought were stressing me out evaporated. All my big plans and hope, we hadn't gotten married, John and I, we hadn't started a family, and all of a sudden those things that I cared so deeply about might not be possible and weren't in my control. And it is an incredibly humbling feeling when your survival depends on access to health care. And I was so lucky. I had insurance that allowed me to access the treatment. And I was most of all lucky that it worked. 5 years, hit the 5-year mark, cancer-free. I'm now at 10 years. But I have never forgotten what it feels like to be that vulnerable. And it is a huge part of why I run for office. Access to healthcare is a human right, and it is not okay to play politics with people's lives. I am running in a race that many thought is not possible. This is our gerrymandered district. And for those of you who don't know, gerrymandering is when politicians pick their voters and not the other way around, the way it should be with voters picking their politicians. This district was drawn to be Republican. I'm running against a guy that's been in for 24 years of voting against the interests of this district and this community. And we've had 39 white men represent this district. Not a single person of color, not a single woman. And we need change. And I am here today to say this is not about me. This is about all of us. I am raising my hand in a new way and saying yes to be part of this broader movement. To say that enough is enough, that our country and community deserve better leadership, and that it's about faith and hope and love, and that we can do this together. Thank you.
How you doing? Well, first of all, I'm Phil Heimlich. I am the leader of Operation Grant, which is the Ohio affiliate of the Lincoln Project, which is Republicans that are supporting Joe Biden in the election this year. I want to thank Rob. I was feeling like kind of an outcast here until he said he was a Republican. I felt like I just didn't fit in. Persecuted minority. So, Rob, thank you so much for kind of making me feel a little more comfortable. I read this column in USA Today last week, and it was talking about the leadership of my party, the Republican Party. What it said is the Republicans are a combination of the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion. No heart, no brains, no courage. But I want you to know, historically, it hasn't always been like that. In the 50s, there was kind of a predecessor to Donald Trump. His name was Joe McCarthy. And he was a demagogue. He was a serial liar. He divided the country. And he was famous for having a piece of paper, holding it up and saying, I have the names of 130 communists in the State Department on this paper. Well, of course, he never turned the paper over. But the difference between then and now is there were actually Republicans that stood up to him. One of the most famous was Margaret Chase Smith, who was the senator from Maine, who issued what she called the Declaration of Conscience, when she and some other Republicans spoke out against McCarthy and against how he vilified and unjustly accused people of being communists. There's a famous moment in the McCarthy Senate hearings, you may have seen this or heard about it, where the attorney who was representing the victims who had all been unjustly accused of being communists, this attorney looked at McCarthy, looked him in the eye on national TV, and he said this. He said, "Sir, have you no sense of decency? Have you no sense of decency?" And if our president was here now in front of me, That's exactly what I would say to him. I would say, sir, Mr. President, have you no sense of decency? I'm dating myself here, but I lived through the Watergate era. And I was glued to the set during those Watergate hearings. But once again, a difference between then and now is there were actually Republicans who stood up to Richard Nixon. There were, I remember a senator by the name of Lo Weicker from Connecticut and others who had the courage to speak out against Nixon's crimes and his corruption. And there was a famous episode in the Watergate era called the Saturday Night Massacre. Any of you guys know about that? Saturday Night Massacre, Nixon wanted to fire the special prosecutor. So he called his attorney general, whose name was Elliot Richardson, a Republican appointee, and he said, I want you to fire the special prosecutor. Well, Elliot Richardson wouldn't do it. Elliot Richardson resigned rather than undercut the Constitution and undermine the rule of law. Can you imagine if the political patsy that we have as an attorney general today was in that position? Can you imagine him doing anything that courageous? I want to close by just saying something that a columnist, conservative columnist George Wills said. What he said is, and this may apply to what Kate talked about, he said we not only need to, and he's a long-time conservative icon, he said we not only have to defeat Trump in this election, his enablers, we need to defeat his enablers as well. I was helped greatly by Rob Portman, and I respect him very much, and he helped me a lot in my career. But I have to say that if Rob were standing here today, I would look at him, and I would think back. I know I'm going back in history a little bit, but does anybody remember a famous vice presidential debate, 1988? Michael Dukakis was the candidate, but the vice president for the Republicans was Dan Quayle, and he was in a debate against Lloyd Benson. And Quayle liked to compare himself to John F. Kennedy. And he went ahead and was talking about how he was kind of like John F. Kennedy. And Lloyd Benson responded these words. He said, "Sir, I knew John F. Kennedy, and you, sir, are no John F. Kennedy." Famous line. Well, if my friend Rob Portman were here, with all due respect, I would sadly look at him and say, you, sir, are no Margaret Chase Smith. And if Steve Shabbat, who also is a friend and someone who helped me in my career, I don't want to misstate that, if he were here, I would say, sir, you are no Lo Weicker. And if the Attorney General were here, I say, Mr. Attorney General, you are no Elliot Richardson. That's for sure. Now, I have a fear I just want to share with you all before I leave. And that fear has to do with something that's happening in the world today. And if you don't know, in country after country, leaders have been elected, democratically elected, and they are transforming their countries into dictatorships. Poland, Hungary, Turkey, the Philippines. This is happening all over the world. And what scares me is what is going to happen if Donald Trump gets reelected. What is this country going to look like? Madeleine Albright, who's a former Secretary of State, had a great comment. She was quoting Benito Mussolini. And she said, this is what Mussolini said, how you get rid of democracy. Mussolini said, it's like plucking a chicken, one feather at a time. That's what he said. And her point was, in this America that we are in, what is going to happen if this man gets reelected? Will newspapers and television stations be shut down? Will his political opponents be locked up? Will people like you and I who be scared, be afraid to come and speak out like this? Is that what our country is going to be like? As you know, our president has had a long-running bromance with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. Well, I'll say this for Putin. He's very efficient. He doesn't debate or tweet at his opponents. He poisons them. But what will this country be like? Well, the reason I'm leading Operation Grant, helping lead, we have a leadership team. The reason I'm leading it in Ohio is because we want to reach out to what we call reasonable Republicans and plead with them to put country first ahead of party. We are pleading with them to vote, whether you agree with Joe Biden on every issue or not, to do what is right and put decency and integrity first. And get this guy out of there before he does more damage to this country. And I'm doing everything I can to protect our democracy because I care about that, and I would urge you to do the same. Thank you.
I wrote this song last month, and I want to play it for you. Where is the justice? The justice we need. Oh, where is the justice we all want to see? And when I marched in the street, then I began to see. I saw the justice we need is the justice that needs me. And where is the healing we need? Oh, where is the healing we all want to see? And when I turn on my TV, I see so much dis-ease. The healing we need is the healing that needs me. And where is the peace? The peace we all want to see. Oh, where is the peace that we all know we need? And so I phoned an old friend. I said sorry for the grief. I said the peace that we need and the healing we need. And I know the justice we need is the justice that needs me.
And that guy's name is Brandon Pfeiffer, y'all. Hey, I was mentioning that we need you, and Brandon's little song there, the justice needs you, peace needs you, healing needs you. It's really true, and we need you too. That's part of the reason we've come all the way here. Now, we don't just need you for us, we need you for the country. So here's the deal. We're traveling around. We're going to go to the 6 swing states that matter, and Ohio is one of them. You know, in 32 days, you get to vote. 32 days early voting starts, right, Kate? You know that, 32 days. Now look, you don't have to wait till the last day. We like to say around Vote Common Good, vote early, vote often. Just not in the same election, but vote early every time you can, every time you get a chance at it. We'd love for you to get out and vote. In fact, if you live in this district, this might be your polling place. Check around if you don't already know where your polling place is. In 60 days, people are going to walk into this building to vote. Now, people are still making up their minds on how to vote. Here's the deal. We travel around and talk to people all the time. We talk to Republicans and Democrats and independents, people in the political system, lots of people that don't like politics. You know what everybody doesn't seem to like? Politics. So they tell us that all the time when you drive around in a bus like this, right? But they're all saying, I'm going to do something about it this time. Now, here's the thing. You don't travel around, and you know this in your own life. You don't try to change people's minds. The circumstances start working on people. What you do when you engage is you usher someone by walking with them over a threshold. There are people wondering what they're going to do. So we want to invite you to do a couple things with us tonight. We've got this tent back there. It's kind of our donation tent, but we like to refer to it as our participation tent because it's where you get signed up for things. Now, you're going to get signed up for voting over there. You can get signed up for Kate's campaign over here and the big tent in the middle. We would love for you to go home with one of these yard signs that say, faith, not fear, hope, not hate, love, not lies, or love for all. We'd love you to go home with one of those. Get not just one, get two, get three, get four. Line your street with them. Put them next to another sign that says that you're about something that's going to be politics and something that's a little bit more than that. Because this is, for many people, not an election about a politician. This is an election about our future. The second thing we'd invite you to do is to become part of our postcard campaign. Now, here's the thing. We are asking people all over the country to get these postcards from us. What they have on one side is a Christian message. I'm going to tell you why it's a Christian message on one side in a second. Like this one says, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy. It's 1 Corinthians 13. And then it says, this election is about leadership and love. Join me in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day. Then there's another one that has the fruit of the Spirit and says, join me in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day. And in the package, you get 15 of those. Now look, here's the thing that's really special about these packets. They also include 15 names and addresses of faith voters in this congressional district. We have picked this 1st congressional district, and we're inviting people all over the country to send 15,000 postcards into this district to land in every mailbox of a Christian voter. So we have sorted high propensity Christian voters out of the voting rolls and have put them on a sheet. So each one of these packets has a separate list of 15 voters in this congressional district. Now, this is our work. This isn't Kate's, but we're glad to do it with you. And we want you to land this in that mailbox. We're getting feedback now. We've sent out thousands of these already, and people are starting to send back messages because what you do is you write a personal note on the other side, your own personal message that says, please join me. Well, then some people put their name and their address, their return address, and people are writing back to them. This is like going door to door because in this day and age, you can't go door to door, but you can go mailbox to mailbox, right? So please join us in this campaign. If it's something you think you'd like to do, in fact, if you can't wait any longer, you want to come up right now and get this one out of my hand, I'd be glad to give it to you. It's like our altar call moment of the night. So we'd love to see you back there at the tent. And also, look, there's four things that get us around the country. 3 of them are fairly obvious. Faith, hope, and love. You know what the 4th thing is that gets us around this country? What? Diesel. Diesel inside that bus gets us around this country. We'd like to have you in the tank with us. So if you're up for getting in the tank with us, we'd love for you to make a donation back there. You can make a donation for cards. You can make a donation for signs. You can put some gas in the tank. We'd love for you to do that. And look, if you don't have a dime to your name, or if you're like, I need a postcard, or I need a yard sign, don't have any money, look, we're not here to sell these things to you. We're here to encourage you, and we just want you to be part of things with us. If you haven't already texted 66866 and text the word good, please do that. All that's going to do is get you on our email list. That's going to start an email relationship between us because we don't want you to love us and leave us. We want you to join with us in this whole effort, right? So text good to 66866, and we're not going to email you once a week. Don't worry about that. We're going to email you 3 times a week. We really are. Yeah, we're going to email you 3 times a week because we're down to 60 days, and this is no time to clear your email box. This is a time to feel encouraged, just a time to be woken up, a time to speak up, and a time to send some postcards to other people. So please go home with some packets. Go home with some things that some other people would also be encouraged by. We got a couple more songs here, and then we want you to meet some people that are also running for office. And I think we have one of them right over here. I think Alicia's here, and you're going to meet her. And we want to do a little bit more encouragement of you and and to have you sit with us here for a while tonight. It's such a beautiful night. We know you've given up a Friday. We're super appreciative of you being here. And look, if you haven't told your friends about this yet, we're live streaming this. Tell them. If you haven't asked your friends to text to that phone number, text them. If you haven't texted your friends and asked them if they want postcards, text your friends and ask them for postcards. We're not going to be bothered if you have your phone out. We know you're not bored. We know you're working. We know you're doing the work of what it means to be an organizer. Brandon's still here because he's got another, well, he can stay up here as long as he wants, but he's here because he has another song that he's going to sing that I think he's going to tell you a little something about that's pretty special to us around the world of Vote Common Good.
Oh, there we go. In Vote Common Good world, we have a friend of ours named Daniel Dietrich from South Bend, Indiana, and he's on that bus with us sometimes. Dan is couldn't be here with us tonight, but Dan and I grew up similarly. We grew up in evangelical churches. Those were the churches that taught us what it looks like to live and act in the world in ways that make you into a decent human being and show you what it means as a boy to grow into being a good husband or a good father and how to do good in the world. And so Dan Dietrich tells this story about his song that I'm going to play for you. The song's called Hymn for the 81%. And Dan tells the story about how leading up to the 2016 election, there was a candidate that bragged about sexually assaulting a woman, and those very same people who taught us how to do good and be good in the world voted him into office. So this is called Hymn for the 81%. I grew up in your churches, Sunday morning, evening service. I knelt in tears at the foot of the rugged cross. You taught me every life is sacred. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked. I learned from you the highest law is love. And I believed you when you said I should trust the words in red to guide my steps through a wicked world. See, I thought you'd do the same, so imagine my dismay when I watched you lead the sheep straight to the wolves. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. When they started putting kids in cages, ripping mothers from their babies, I looked to you to speak on their behalf. Oh, but all I heard was silence. Even worse, you justified it, singing glory, hallelujah, raise the flag. And your fear, it turned to hatred, but you baptized it with language torn from the pages of the good book. You weaponized religion. You wonder why I'm leaving to find Jesus on the wrong side of your wall. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. Come home, you're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home, I know you're better, 'cause you taught me better. You said to love the lost, so I'm trying to love you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. Dan Dietrich, him for the 81%.
All right, I mentioned to you that I have the privilege of introducing to you Alicia Reese. Alicia's running for county commissioner. Is that right, Alicia? Do I have that right? Now, here's the deal. There's a lot of people that are running for office because it's not just the president that's the problem. And it's not just the president that's going to be on the ballot. And it very well could be that in this area, Joe Biden needs to ride the coattails of Kate and Alicia all the way into the White House and to flip Ohio, right? He's going to jump on these coattails. So come on up here, Alicia. We really appreciate you being here tonight and for having a chance to share with us. And anybody who's willing to offer themselves, to put themselves out in the world and say, you know what, I'll give it a try. If you want to pull that off of there, you're welcome to. If you want to. Anybody who's willing to put themselves out there, because we know that running for office is hard. Anytime you put yourself out there. So on behalf of all of us, on behalf of the people of this county, even though I don't live in this county, I'm just a drop-in interloper, thank you so much for running, and thanks for sharing with us tonight.
Thank you so much, and thank you for traveling to the battleground states. And I like the theme, Vote Common Good. So as stated, my name is Alicia Reese. My father lives right down the street, so I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. I was born and raised here in Cincinnati, grew up on the west side, went to school on the east side, and those who are from Cincinnati know the east and the west never cross. So I learned at a very young age how to build bridges. I'm a proud graduate of Cincinnati Public Schools. I grew up in civil rights. I watched my father work for the first African-American mayor of this city. And it was very tough trying to integrate and those kind of things. I saw that as a little girl. But it wasn't until I went to college down south in Louisiana at Grambling State University when I really knew the power of the vote. And so when I went down there, never had been away from home, first one going to college, mom and dad were a little nervous. I went down and there was a guy by the name of David Duke, KKK Grand Wizard. And he got up and said, I'm going to run for governor. And at that time, I said, man, I'd like to know what it's like to be a college student. Just do my work. Don't have to be involved, because I had to be involved in civil rights my whole life. But when he said that and he started preaching hate and trying to divide black and white students, I said, we have to stand up and stop him. And so we came together, black and white students. We used our college ID. And we said, we will register and we will vote and we will stop him from becoming the governor of Louisiana. And we did. And that's when I saw that love can beat hate if we organize. And so when I came back to Cincinnati, I got really upset, didn't think about running for office. But what made me run was I was in church one day and I was praying to God. I'm a proud member of New Friendship Baptist Church, and Pastor Leslie Jones is a very good friend. And I was in church and I said, God, you gave me this talent. What is it that you want me to do? I want to be obedient to you. And at that time in our church, we used to sing a song, I have a testimony, and the tambourines get going and everything, and people would shout and run around. I said, when am I going to have a testimony? And I learned, don't ever ask that question, because to have a testimony, you have to have a test. And so God revealed to me that he wanted me to run for office, and I was against it at first. But when they tried to close the city health clinics, I got upset. I said, something has to be done. And when I called different people, they said, yes, something has to be done. So what are you going to do about it? And so I ended up running for city council. And at that time, they said, you can't win. You're a first-time candidate. You're too young. You're a woman. You're African-American. And you're not rich. And you can't win on your first time. And it was my first time actually having my own test and my own testimony. And God walked with me the whole time, and we got young people registered, and we were able to get people get elected, but to get other young people to stay in this city and not leave and start getting involved. And now we got more young people who are running and who are in office because of it. Well, now we're in another time. And one of the things I always learn in the book of Esther, God prepares you for such a time as this. And I even said to God, I said, you want me to, after I've been the vice mayor, I've been a state representative, I've been in and out of politics, you want me back now for county commission at this time, under this type of presidency, with democracy on the line? And once again, I'm running and they said, wait a minute, you don't fit the description. You don't have the money. You're not ready. Some people said you can't do it. And we were able to win a primary with an opponent that had over $600,000. Don't tell me what God can't do. He can do it. He will do it if we're obedient. And so this is my faith walk as I'm going for my 8th election in a time that I've never seen before. I've never seen a president like this. This is not in the history books. They told me to read the Constitution and uphold the Constitution. And then I even worked to try to get voting rights in the Constitution. And then I had a chance to speak at the 50th anniversary where Dr. King stood. They asked me to speak. I don't know how they even thought of me. Had to be God. But it was at a time when the United States Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. And right before my speech, the night before, they said, hey, they've gutted the Voting Rights Act. I want you to change your speech. I stayed up all night. I prayed and prayed and prayed and wrote and prayed and prayed. And they gave me 2 minutes and I got up. And what God gave me was no more temporary solutions to permanent problems. Yeah. It's time to make Dr. King's dream real. And ever since then, I moved on that day from position. I'd had a lot of positions. City council, vice mayor, state representative, deputy director of tourism. But I moved from position to purpose. And I've been on a purpose ever since. I lost my mom at 57 years young. At the age I am right now, she was in a wheelchair because of multiple sclerosis. Hit her out of nowhere. Small business owner, never missed a day at the job. Never missed a day of work. Was still planning people's weddings from her wheelchair. My mother then got cancer 3 months later, diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. I went through the chemo, I went through the radiation. I did it in silence, kept working because my mother said, don't complain. The last thing that my mother did in her wheelchair was out in the snow, cold, going to the corners, getting young people to the polls. I said, Mom, what are you doing? She said, we got to get them to vote. My mother sat there that evening, said, leave me alone, let me watch the TV as they announced Barack Obama as the first African-American president. Tears came down her face. She already booked the rooms for the inauguration. But unfortunately, my mother would not make it. She passed away on December 28th, and we went in her honor. I say all that to say to you is that my purpose is to make sure, and all of us should be the dash between our names. History is being written right now. What did we do with God's talent that He gave each of us to stop the hate that is coming from the White House down to the State House? It's hitting the schoolhouse. It's hitting all of these places, and it's hitting around our house. And it's not just Donald Trump. They've got the Trumpettes, and they're on tour. They're trying to come to the county commission. My opponent is screaming he wants to bring the same type of style of Donald Trump to the county commission. And so we are the ones that have to stop it. My background is in organizing. I've got the right plan, and Kate's got the right plan, but the plan doesn't matter if we don't get there. So as we are focused on faith, hope, and love, what I know in the good book, it says faith without work is dead. So please, let's register people. Let's make sure they're registered. I've got 3 points to make sure that people win. Number 1, make sure you're registered to vote. Double check your voter registration online right now. Vote HamiltonCountyOhio.gov. Because they played games, got 100,000 people less voting, registered to vote than we had 4 years ago. Number 2, everybody in your house, that's 18 years of age, make sure they're registered. Everyone in your church, just your church. You don't have to get anybody else's church. Just make sure your church is registered. Number two, if you want to vote absentee, fill out that form this weekend. Get it over to the Board of Elections, 4700 Smith Road, and drop it in the box. I got a hashtag called Drop It in the Box. Drop it in the box. And then the third and most important thing, now that we're equipped and ready to vote, is to vote early. We're not going to vote late. No more games. We're not going to play around with this thing. We're going to vote early. October 6th, meet us at the polls and vote, or drive through and drop it in the box. We're voting early. Those are 3 ways to make sure that our votes are counted and that we do it right. So that's what I'm out promoting. We're out registering people. We got drive-through voter registrations that I have. I got voter hubs. I'm popping up. I'm doing everything I can, because when they write history and they ask, what did we do? I want them to say there were people of all races, all ages, multi-generational, multi-racial, that stood up and said enough is enough. We will not only save our democracy, but we will save the world that God gave us. My name is Alicia Reese. I'm running for Hamilton County Commissioner. Vote AliciaReese.com. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Alicia. And Kate, run on, sisters. Run on, sisters. Drop it in the box. I like that. Yes, drop it in the box. So I'm just going to share something with you. My name is Mia, again, if you just got here, and I'm a singer and a songwriter. And one thing that I have used my talent to do is breathe some joy into the resistance. Sometimes we start to feel a little bit down, and it gets a little heavy with all the information and all of the tough times we're going through. So, you know, one thing that I like to do is just spread a little bit of joy. And I think that you all can help me out with this song, because it's really not hard. It's something I used to sing when I was a little kid in church. And it goes like this. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. I tell you that the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. This love, this love, this love, this love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. No, this love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. I tell you that the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. This joy, this joy, this joy, this joy that I have. Let me hear you a little louder. The world didn't give it to me. No, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. I tell you that the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. All right. Thank you.
One more round of applause for Mia Pace. Alicia Reese, thank you so much for your words. You got me pumped up. You got me pumped up. So as I said before, my activism work was removing the Confederate emblem from the Mississippi state flag. I'm very proud that it's gone. We'll be voting on a new design in November. One of the criteria is cannot have a Confederate emblem on it. So it's a huge victory, and it's taken a very long time, 120 years to be exact. You know, my part was small. And, you know, my ancestors, we have to honor the ancestors. They fought against that flag as well. So when that flag came down, like they were smiling, I knew it. I know it. And I know that if change can happen in Mississippi, it can happen everywhere. It's the truth. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of our nation. Police exoneration and mass incarceration. Black and brown bodies a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. It's like the White House is painted in the Klan's ideology, and our leadership is exploiting white poverty, keeping us separate and divided, gay versus straight, white versus black, based off of fear and far from the facts. See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. It's the land of unsolved murder mystery. I'm triggered by the trauma in my own family history. Because my dad was only 5 when a Klan drive-by bust bullets into his house with 6 children inside. On the back of the truck, a Confederate flag flying high. See, Mississippi, like America, eats your child and mine. The white supremacist lies, a prison of their own design. They forfeited their humanity in order to deny mine. Because white supremacy is a lie. Some have accepted it, a Confederate curse they inherited. Bigotry is blinding, and their fear of the other has blocked their own blessings from their sisters and brothers. Outrage, fatigue, I'm screaming, I can't breathe. From the top, it trickles down, from my judges to police. Because the illusion of freedom is far more dangerous than any jail cell or cramped cages. Yes, Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation, where cowards replace white sheets with fake avatars, repeating their parents' folklore, tooth fairy, Santa Claus. The history's whitewashed. Google black codes and bylaws. In the comment section, sound off, sound off. Lord, they sound off, don't they? They call me a nigger, a bitch, or a dyke. You call me whatever you like. I've been through worse in this fight. And the hatred in their words just proves that I'm right. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a country that always needed me but never wanted me. My melanin and skin in a sin sentenced to build your economy. Pack the prisons, fill the quota, make us felons, never voters. Travel bans and deportation, killer cops, no resignation. Just federal indictments and mock trials. See, my heart bleeds as the billboard reads, "Make America white again," as my favorite rapper concedes. Kanye. Making me question everything that I believe. But still, I love America. I do. Because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship, and some steer the boat. See, I know that love and humanity lives in the smile of every child, in the heart of every kid. So be brave enough to break the curse. We need you at the polls, out in droves, fighting against the bigots you oppose. Study law, run for office, make a call, write your Congress, use your voice, choose a march. John Lewis is gone. Grab the torch. You can read a book, you can write a rap. Just speak with truth and deal with facts, because freedom and justice are under attack, y'all. Alt-right affiliation of Trump's administration, Confederate infiltration, neo-Nazi showing faces. Just fueling the fear and the hatred while expanding their corporations. Do you see now how Mississippi is a microcosm of our nation? I'm Genesis B, y'all. Thank you.
Our final 2 parts of the night tonight is one, asking you to take a pledge with us, and the second is to be serenaded out of the parking lot by me and Mario. And the pledge is this, what we call the Love and Politics Pledge. Now, this is not a pledge for politicians to take. They're going to take a pledge. They're going to put their hand on something, and they're going to raise their other hand up in the air, and they're going to make a pledge to defend the Constitution and defend the call of their state. This is a pledge for voters, the Love and Politics Pledge. What we want is we want more love in our politics. So, okay, Alicia, we're going to ask you to be held accountable by people who've taken this Love and Politics Pledge, because here's what it says. It says that you as a voter will call on all elected leaders to comport themselves in ways consistent with love in their public and political lives. We don't think it's too much to ask that if someone wants to represent the good people of this country, that they do it in a way of love. We don't think love is about churches or homes or synagogues or mosques alone. We think it's a public commodity that should build our public life together. Secondly, that you will support, at least with your words, if not with your vote, all elected leaders who do so. If someone acts in a way of love, recognize it and notice it. And thirdly, that you will stand up to and call for a change from any elected leader who violates the virtues of love, whether they're from your political party or from another. And then fourthly, that you will call on all elected leaders to call other public officials to account when they don't hold themselves to the standard of love. No more of this, well, I wouldn't have tweeted it that way. We think there's a higher calling to public office than saying, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. So, voters, we're going to ask you to take that pledge. Now, here's the fun part of that. Here's our call response part. We'll invite you all to stand up if you're willing to and say this with us together. This is the definition of love as it comes from 1 Corinthians 13. So I'll read the love part, and then you read the meaning part. It goes a little something like this. Love is, give it all you got. Love is, there you go. Love does not, love does not, love is not, love does not, love is not, love is not, love is, keeps no, love does not, love rejoices, love always, love always, love always, and love always perseveres. So would you be people that put love in politics? Because we'd love it if you would. Now look, when it comes to election day, Joe Biden's not a perfect candidate. He's not going to solve all our problems. But look, the president shouldn't be the problem. So get your vote out, make him the Love in Politics pledge candidate, and let's change this country. And here's me and Mario. We're going to sing our way out of this parking lot. And thanks so much for being with us tonight. And get that vote in early. And let's see the results come in on November 3rd for Alicia, for Kate, and for Joe Biden. Thanks, y'all.
That's right. We got work to do. We know how to do it. And I know since you showed up tonight that you believe in freedom. And I would love if you sing this song. These are the words of Ella Baker. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mother's son is as important as the killing of white men, white mother's son. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to touch the power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be just one in the number as we stand against tyranny. To me, young people come first. They have the courage where we think. If I can just shine a light on as they carry us through the gate. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Come on now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Go in peace and don't forget to vote. Your vote common good. Thank you.